Welcome to NeoUnrealist. Now, if you sit by the river long enough, eventually the bodies of your enemies are just going to float by. And yesterday, Adam Schiff and the Democrats, they bored the nation with a dud of a hearing that only served to solidify the fact that the witnesses brought forward had no relevant first-hand knowledge on the matter at hand. Which brings me to the point of this video. It seems that almost every character that Schiff introduces into L'Affaire Ukraine, with the exception of Colonel Vindman, who it's clear to me is the likeliest initial unnamed source for He Who Must Not Be Named, or YouTube will lock this video into private mode, it would seem that all Schiff has is a small group of State Department and NSC officials who were miffed that the president did not follow the, how did Vindman put it? The interagency consensus. And in the case of Ambassador Taylor, his beef was more, one of resenting what he called an irregular channel that bypassed him in favor of two ambassadors to the European Union and the Secretary of Energy. Now, try as he might, Adam Schiff could not make anything out of what amounts to mere gossip and bureaucratic hurt feelings. So it seems odd to me that in warp speed by Washington standards, we wound up with congressional hearings into this matter based on nothing but gossip, innuendo, and hurt feelings, while the element of the matter that can be backed up with email communications and court documents remains relatively unexamined. Well, no more. Yesterday, in a leak out of the Ukrainian General Prosecutor's Office and materials acquired from intel sources within the country, a treasure trove of documents has been made available to the public. Now, these documents show vast sums of money being transferred from Burisma Holdings Limited, based in Cyprus, from an account held at AS Privat Bank in Latvia. One money transfer was discovered in the amount of the company WireLogic Technology AS, and another transfer from Digitex Organization LLP that were based on credit agreements. Credit agreements in this context mean intra-company transactions to lower tax liability or to serve as a means of hidden dividend payments. These funds are described as having been transferred to Alan Apter, Alexander Kwasniewski, as well as Hunter Biden and his pal Devin Archer. Now, in addition to these credit agreements, remember, which are utilized in order to hide dividend payments, 45 money transfers were made by Burisma Holdings Limited from November 18th, 2014 to November 16th, 2015, almost exactly a one-year period, 363 days covered in these bank records. Those 45 money transfers, they went through Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, totaling $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca Bohai LLC. Now let me say that again. 45 money transfers from Burisma Holdings Limited to Rosemont Seneca Bohai LLC, totaling $3.5 million in just 1 year, 363 days. Rosemont Seneca Bohai LLC is the slush fund operated by Devin Archer, Hunter Biden, and the family of former Secretary of State John Kerry. So at the very time that Burisma was lobbying to have the investigations of Burisma and Mykola Zlochevsky dropped, with Joe Biden as the sitting vice president and John Kerry as the sitting Secretary of State, Burisma was simultaneously shoveling in just this 1 year period that we know of $3.5 million into the slush fund of the son of the sitting vice president and the stepson of the Secretary of State. Note the payments. They're as regular as a metronome. $83,333.33 per month, that looks like an odd figure, right? Who makes payments to people of $83,333.33? It just seems so weird. Well, it just so happens, when you think about it, these are monthly payments. There are 12 months in a year, and if you multiply $83,333.33. If you multiply that one monthly payment by 12 months, that works out to be just about $1 million, almost to the penny. In fact, the closest you can get to $1 million making the same payment every month happens to be $83,333.33. You multiply that by 12, it equals $999,000, $999 and 96 cents. So 4 cents, 4 pennies off of the even $1 million figure. If you were to increase that payment by even 1 cent to $83,333.34, and you multiply that by 12, you would go over $1 million. It'd be $1,000,000.08. Gee, you think it's a coincidence that the payments to these men just happen to work out almost to the penny to the most you could pay someone per month and not go over $1 million to the precision of 4 pennies? I mean, it almost looks like Hunter Biden was getting paid $1 million a year through this slush fund from Burisma Holdings in Cyprus into the slush fund that he ran with his good pals, Devin Archer and John Kerry's son, all for a no-show job with the largest gas company in a country he's never been to, that conducts business in a language he does not understand, in an industry that he has zero education in, zero experience in, no qualifications for. Why, this very same company, that as soon as Hunter Biden's father, the vice president, when he got Victor Shokin fired, he said, hey, if you don't fire this guy, you're not going to get the $1 billion. Remember that video? Well, citing Hunter Biden's name with officials of the United States State Department, as the reason that he should be listened to, when requesting meetings with officials of the State Department. Look at it. How about this email? Per our conversation, Karen Tramontano of Blue Star Strategies requested a meeting to discuss with Undersecretary Novelli remarks alleging Burisma of corruption. She noted that 2 high-profile U.S. citizens are affiliated with the company, including Hunter Biden as a board member. So understand what happened there in that email communication between these 2 State Department people. A person working on behalf of Burisma is trying to get in contact with the top man at the U.S. State Department at that time, handling the Ukraine portfolio, a guy named Novelli, and he's using Hunter Biden's name and position with the company to leverage the meeting, with him to discuss ending efforts to look into Burisma's alleged corruption. The emails further show that Hunter Biden, along with his pal Devin Archer, I might add, both board members of Burisma, both benefiting from the slush fund Rosemont Seneca Bohai, scheduled meetings with high-ranking members of the State Department. In 2015, Hunter, just before I go on, understand, the Biden, John Kerry himself, I believe, has ownership interest in this thing. I don't know if Joe Biden has a direct stake in it, but I believe his brother does, as well as his son. You have the Kerrys involved, the Kerry Hineses, if you want to be, more specific. So you have the families of the sitting president, vice president, and the guy who was the Secretary of State at the time, the guy in charge of foreign policy for the United States. It's quite possible they even had direct equity investment, but certainly their families. But in 2015, Hunter Biden himself, personally, asked to meet then Deputy Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to, quote, get his advice on a couple things, close quote. And again, he wanted to meet him for another time for a lunch on July 22nd, 2015. Now, to cap this off, on March 2nd, 2016, the day after the scheduled meeting that we were talking about just a minute ago, about dropping the heat on Burisma, where they were dropping Hunter Biden's name to get the meeting, the very next day, Devin Archer was scheduled to meet with Secretary of State John Kerry himself, the man at the top of the Department of State. And so you understand how special a treatment Hunter Biden was getting, not just in receiving these meetings so he could try to get Burisma off of on corruption investigations. They were sending people to stand out on the sidewalk and meet him at curbside. Note the marking on the email. Importance. Hi. Dear Hunter, redacted, is going to look for you before you go through our security on 22nd and C Street. Next, he describes the guy's physical description, but he finishes off. He has the VIP pin and can escort you upstairs for your lunch with Tony. Tony would be, as I mentioned above, Antony Blinken, the Deputy Secretary of State. Now, do you see what Mykola Zlochevsky and Burisma were buying with that $3.5 million paid out to the Rosemont Seneca Bohai Slush Fund? You know, to have these helpful Americans on his payroll at the board of Burisma? The kind of people who can not only get meetings with Secretary of State John Kerry and lunches with Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken, but the kind of clout that gets them met at the curb and escorted past security as a VIP upstairs and bypassing the security altogether. You know, why hire some peon Washington lawyer who probably can't even get their phone call answered by these people at the top floor of the State Department, let alone score an escort, into the VIP lunch past the security in the lobby? Hello, CNN. Emails, bank statements, records of cash transfers being structured and layered. You know, while they're listening to people describe how they heard something from a friend who talked to somebody's cousin's roommate, how he saw on CNN what Trump's intentions were towards Ukraine, here we have actual documented evidence of money changing hands, special treatment and favors being given, meetings about dropping the pursuit of Burisma's malfeasance. I mean, there was a time when journalists, they would have been all over that. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor, hit like for this video, leave a comment below, mash down the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel, and click on the notification bell beside it. Otherwise, being subbed is going to do nothing for you. You have to set it to the all setting to keep up with newer content. If you want to contribute directly to the channel and toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar, follow the links below to Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal. And if you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Thanks for watching.